So in this video, we're introducing you to function notation. If you look up there at the top at problem number 5, it reads f of x equals x squared minus 2. And so this is a function that has an x in it. And then over there farther, it says find f of 2. So basically what I'm asked to do is where I replace that 2 that's in parentheses, that x in parentheses with a 2, I have to do that for everything in the function. So f of x now becomes f of 2 equals 2 squared minus 2. So in essence, step 1 is I replace all the x's with a 2. And in step 2, you can see where I need to type that in my calculator. That's exactly how it should appear. Make sure when you substitute in a variable that you put it in parentheses. I put that in my calculator, and you can see my calculator screen. When I evaluate 2 squared minus 2, I end up getting 2. So this is basically an ordered pair of x is 2 and y is 2. So that's how we do this function notation. And number 7, we're doing f of x equals 2 raised to the x plus 3 power plus 2. And we're supposed to find the function at -1. So where I have an x, I replace that x with a -1. And so you can see where I have f of a -1 equals 2. You can see it's raised to the -1 plus 3 power plus 2. I'll go ahead and type that in my calculator, and f of a -1 gives me 6. So that's another ordered pair of x is a -1, and the y value for this function is 6. Now last of all, I'm doing problem number 9. I have 2x is a function, so f of x equals 2x. I want to find f at a -5. I put a -5 in for the x's, so 2 times a -5 gives me a -10. So that ordered pair is a -5, -10. Okay, we'll go on to a couple of more problems here in just a second. Okay, in this next problem, we're asked to evaluate the graph at the given values. So you can see here I'm supposed to find f of a -2. You can look at the steps there. So the first thing I have to do is find f of a -2. So I need to find x equals a -2 on the y-axis. When I find that value, I'm going to go ahead and draw a vertical line straight up and down. And then I'm going to just visually inspect it and find where that first ordered pair, that first point appears. And you can see that it appears at, it looks like a -2. So when we evaluate using a graph or a set of ordered pair, we just draw a vertical line at wherever the x is, and then we trace it to the y, and we find out what value it is. And so in this one, we have the x value at a -2, and a -2 for the x and a -2 for the y. So step number 4, we're going to write out the function. I have f of a -2 equals a -2. Now to tell if it's a function, what I want to do is draw a vertical line through every ordered pair I see. And now you can kind of look in the 2 boxes here. If the vertical lines cross only one point on each line, then it is a function. If a vertical line crosses more than one point, so if there's 2 points on the same line, that means it's not a function. Okay, let's jump over to the circle. We're supposed to evaluate f at a -4. So we'll draw a vertical line at a -4. And at a -4, if I follow that vertical line up, you can see it touches the very edge of that circle at a +1 on the y-axis. So that first ordered pair, f of x is a -4, will be 1. Now on the other side, I want to look at f at a +4. So I draw a vertical line at a +4. And then I trace it up to where it just barely touches the circle. And it also touches right there at a +1. Now in order to check this thing at a function, you can just draw several vertical lines. One will do, but you could do 2 or 3 times. And you can see those vertical lines cross that circle at the bottom half of the circle and also at the top half of the circle. And so that tells me that it's not a function, because anytime I draw a vertical line, it should only cross the graph once. And if it crosses more than once, that means it's not a function. So the first one is a function. Number 13 is a function because it only crosses each point once. And the second one is not a function because when it crosses the graph, one vertical line can cross more than once, so it's not a function. Okay, in this next problem, we're supposed to decide if the relationship of ordered pairs represents a function and explain why or why not. So the best thing to do for this is to make yourself a graph and go ahead and plot those ordered pair, and you can see where I've done that. I've got 0, 1, and then 1 and 2, 2 and 2, and 3 and 4. Now, just like before, we're going to use this vertical line test. So through each one of those points, we'll graph a vertical line. And if there's only one point that lies on those lines, it means that we do have a function. Now, if you do a problem and you graph a set of ordered pair, and if you draw vertical lines through the ordered pair, and if you end up with a line that has 2 or more points on it, then that means that it's not a function. So this is a function, and I think there's 3 more problems like this that you have to do, so go ahead and remember that. And the idea is that we're going to take ordered pair, we're going to go back and turn it into a graph. Okay, now in problems 21 and 23, we're supposed to find the value of x that causes f of x to equal 11. So basically what you need to do is we're going to turn this into an equation that we're familiar with. We're going to take both right-hand sides and set them equal to each other and come up with an equation. So we'll have 2x minus 1 equals 11. So just simply solve this. We'll take that negative 1. We have to get rid of it, so we'll add 1 to take it to 0. Then we'll add 1 to the other side, and now our equation becomes 2x equals 12. Now to get the x to go to 1x, we're going to divide 2 to each side. We'll divide the 2 on the left-hand side by 2 to get the 1x, and then we'll do it to the other side, 12 divided by 2 to keep the algebra balanced, and we end up with getting x equals 6. So on number 23, it's the same idea, just set the right-hand sides to equal to each other. So on the first h of x, we have 6x plus 2. On the h of x to the other side, on the right-hand side, we have 20. So 6x plus 2 equals 20. We'll subtract 2 from each side. The first one on the left-hand side, we get the 2 to go to 0 by subtracting. We do it on the other side to keep the algebra balanced. And so we end up getting 6x equals 18. We'll divide each side by 6 to get the 6x to go to 1x, and we end up getting x equals 3. So that's just kind of a brief idea on how to do these problems. And if you have any questions, please go ahead and come in and ask me. And I appreciate your watching, and have a good afternoon.